Hello and welcome to And Beyond, our monthly development update and community Q&A session. I'm Adam with the D&D Beyond team. We're about to jump in. I'm going to give a little bit of a disclaimer that I have been sick all week, and so I'm a bit of a mess right now. So if I start hacking up a lung or anything like that, we're going to try to go to the emergency broadcast system signal or cut me off or something like that, and I may be having to pause to drink a little bit more today, so please bear with me. Thanks for joining us. Let's jump right in. All right, as always, why we are here. We are going to talk about the latest updates to D&D Beyond. We are going to give you some very interesting looks at data, and for this month I'm excited to share some surprising developments in the way that classes and distribution has started to change over the last several months. And so we're going to get into some interesting information there. And then where we're going. What is the short-term roadmap for DDB? What have we been developing and we've released, but then where are we going in the next few months, few weeks? We do have an exciting release coming up here in May. On the 18th of May, we have Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes coming out, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. We'll give an update on the character sheet revamp and where that is. We'll talk about the mobile beta a little bit, and then we'll talk about some of the other new things that we're going to do, like source management. And then, as always, we encourage you to ask plenty of questions, and we're going to try to get to every single one of them that we possibly can. So that is the agenda. Also, as we did last month, we're going to attempt to do a Where's Bad Eye game here in order to give out legendary bundles. Now, last time we tried this was entirely too easy, way too easy. People were spotting this beholder icon almost before we were even changing the screen. So we tried to make it a little bit harder this time. I am sure that eagle-eyed viewers are not going to have any problems, but when you see not the full-blown beholder, the full manifestation of the glory of the beholder, but that little circular icon there, if you see that on any of the screens that we're going through, we will stop. If you let us know in chat, we will stop and give out a legendary bundle. So good luck to everyone with that. All right, let's talk about where we are. So the latest updates to D&D Beyond, we have deployed the latest and actually final part of the first pass of our homebrew management system with homebrew subclasses. So subclasses are in place now. We've had a couple of minor issues here or there that we've been tracking down and fixing. So thanks for all the reports that everybody's been putting out there. In addition to this, we've also deployed comments and ratings. So you can actually go to someone else's homebrew and comment on the design. You can talk about the design. Hopefully we're all going to be kind to each other, but we can engage in conversation on these homebrew elements as well as official spells, monsters, magic items, and so on. You can go and make comments and engage with those things. We can debate healing spirit a little bit more, just like we did in some of our article content this last week. So all of that is possible now. And then we do have ratings that have been added to homebrew elements, and so you can go and upvote or downvote, and hopefully this is going to help us over the long haul. Our system's going to need to learn a little bit here and there, but over the long haul it's going to help us find the really, really good pieces of homebrew content that have been submitted through D&D Beyond. And just where everybody understands, the way that the ratings work is it's definitely taking what's called a Wilson score, which is something that Reddit uses for their hot topics and all of that. So it's not necessarily like a lifetime value thing. It's anything that's gaining traction, anything that's trending. That's how you're going to see that rating start to be affected. So this hopefully over a few months here is going to really help with the findability and being able to really pick out that homebrew content that you want to use in your own games. So very excited about that update. We'll talk a little bit more about homebrew here in just a moment, but excited that that's out. For the mobile beta, In the last month, we have included a variety of bug fixes. We are in beta testing there. We really appreciate all the help with all the testing, all the bug reports that are coming in. It really is making a difference. We appreciate all the feedback. Just as the beta was really essential for us leading into the website launch, it is just as crucial, if not more so, with the mobile app. And so we are really appreciative of that. And we're going to continue to pay attention to that as we're trying to lay the foundation for what will eventually be the full release of the mobile app. We also did enable content sharing in the app. So if you happen to belong to a campaign where someone has enabled content sharing, then you can now see that and download those books and to be able to use in the mobile app if someone else is sharing the content with you. So excited about those updates. There's plenty more to come with mobile. We'll talk about that a little bit more and what's next in the beta. And finally, our original content. We've been talking a lot about this. I am really excited on a daily basis to go in and read this stuff that is coming out from James Hake and then some of our special guests, the first two being James Introcaso and Mike Shea. We have seen a lot of engagement around this, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We are wanting to do this where people in the community, fans of Dungeons & Dragons, will have a place to come on a daily basis to start to consume quality content. And I think that we're off to a really good start here. Very happy with how all of this is going. We've got some very exciting special guests to come. I'll mention a couple of those later. But really looking forward to that, and really off to a great start with that. All right, let's talk a little more about Homebrew. So with Homebrew, we actually have completed what we have been calling the first phase of what Homebrew management is going to be. So I really want to explain this to the community because at the end of the day, these are the major types of content that we want to allow the community to be able to customize and do actual Homebrew content that is going to be usable in the builder and in some of the other tools that we will add in the future. The questions continue to come up about base classes or base equipment, and I can tell you that at the moment on base classes we are very much in the no camp because as you can imagine with a base class there is a great deal of flexibility that we would have to allow that would not only be difficult in many ways for us to put in place. It's not impossible, but it would be difficult for us to put in place. It also is going to start getting to the point where as an official tool set for Dungeons & Dragons, we do need to make sure that we're safeguarding the experience for new players. And so we need to, if we ever did introduce base classes, we would really need to make some user interface changes where new players could come in and discover the official rules for the game with a priority over some of the homebrew content. So yes, we have it segregated right now, but at the same time, we don't have an excellent way to identify some of that content, especially when you're playing in a shared campaign. And so I'm not saying that base classes are completely off the table forever, but we have no current plans to implement those. I know that's going to make some people sad pandas, but at the end of the day, it is about prioritization and us trying to deliver the most impact that we possibly can for the community with the resources that we have. And so I did kind of want to re-emphasize that we don't have current plans for base classes. Base equipment, this is something that we have seen a few requests here and there come up for base equipment, and right now we're also a no on this, but this one is much closer to potentially being a thing. So if this is something that you need to see, I want a little later in the show here, we're going to show the current progress for the character sheet. You might not even need to homebrew base equipment when you see that we're able to ad hoc add items and this kind of thing in the character sheet now. But we're going to keep an eye on this and we'll see how that develops. The giveaway. Oh, yeah, okay. It's right there on that shield, isn't it? It's beautiful. All right. That one was really easy. They get a little bit harder, I promise. All right. So we are going to give away a legendary bundle while I get a drink of water. And in order to qualify for this, you have to type something in the chat. That something can be whatever you want it to be, but we are going to use our fancy randomizer to pick a lucky winner after you type something in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It sounds like X00 Nick is our lucky winner. X00 Nick, congratulations. You have won a legendary bundle. We will get with you after the show to award that to you. Congratulations again. So, for our homebrew management system, we have exposed the tools that we actually use as a development team to input all the information and data into the system. So for the official Fireball spell, we actually use the same interface that you guys are currently using for homebrew management. That can mean several things. First of all, it is very powerful. It's a powerful system. It can do many, many things because it's covering all the bases that we are currently covering with all official content. But it is definitely a little difficult to use, and we are fully aware of the fact that there is a steep learning curve with using the homebrew management system. So again, our priority for the first phase has been to get these tools out to the community. I've been blown away by the response so far with that and the amount of content that is being created. Dungeons & Dragons players are creators, and it is easily apparent with the response to the homebrew system so far. We're really thrilled with that. But we know that there are plenty of places that we want to improve this. So while we won't be visiting the homebrew system in the near future, so you're not going to see anything about these improvements on the short-term roadmap, please do note that we have planned improvements that we're hoping we can get to a little later in this year, where we can get to, and even in between now and then, we want to start seeing contextual tutorials, where we're talking about the different areas where everyone is comfortable with what they're seeing and what they're using. We're going to talk about modifiers in depth, where you understand exactly what's going on with those, and hopefully we can tooltip those a little bit better, and hopefully we can give you also just a reference source where you can see what each modifier is doing. So that is something that we're currently trying to work on. And then eventually we will get to a full user experience pass on the homebrew system, where we're going to make this far more intuitive to use. Think about what we're currently doing with the character sheet and what's going on in that revamp. That is what we want to go back and do with the homebrew system at some point, starting to use React technology instead of some of the form-based technology that we're currently using. So all of that is definitely planned. There's plenty more to come with the homebrew system, but for now we are definitely happy with where it is as an initial pass. Let's talk about some data. This is exciting stuff. So we're going to talk about classes. We talked about classes the very first time that we had our show, and we talked about classes distribution. There was an article that came out that had all kinds of information about class and race distributions, and we shared some info about classes back in September, just after launch of D&D Beyond. And I wanted to check back in here 7-8 months, whatever we're at here later, and see if anything has shifted. And I was actually really surprised by what we have started to see. So, to remind everyone, back in September, this is what we saw. We had Fighter, Rogue, Wizard, Cleric. This makes a lot of sense at this point in time because those are the 4 original classical archetypes that were part of Dungeons & Dragons. And all of this made a lot of sense with some of the free content that we had. Now, back when we did these numbers, I do want everyone to understand that we are looking at apples to apples here. When we did these numbers, we were just looking at users that at that point in time had purchased the player's handbook. So they have something beyond just a free account. And then we were also only looking at characters that were created after that purchase was made. So it's, after that time period. So when all the options in the player's handbook were available, that's what we were looking at then, and this is what we're looking at now. So you can see the distribution. Poor druids, at least on D&D Beyond, people aren't playing them quite as much as some of the other classes. But you can see it was a very, kind of guessable, to be honest, distribution. Like, this is something that I think that the team even did ask me when we ran this data originally. They asked me what the rankings would be, and I think I got almost all of them right. Might have missed one. So this was really something that was easy to surmise. At current, we've had some changes, and you see that, again, this is the same type of data set. This is the same period of time with the same users who have purchased players' handbooks. So we're trying to look at apples to apples as much as we can. Obviously, this is going to be skewed here or there, and there's no real way for us to normalize the data across, for instance, Xanathar's release that was following the player's handbook, by a few months, and all of those factors. But it really does, even if the data is not completely accurate, as some people might call it, it really is showing some interesting trend type information, which is Warlocks at this point in time. There are more Warlock characters on D&D Beyond than there are, fighters at this point. And again, this is really surprising to us. I think that it has a lot to do with the design of the Warlock class and some of the flexibility of that class. I also would not, hesitate to say that it would have something possibly to do with shows like Critical Role, and people love things forward tough, and so there are a variety of factors that are going into this. But Warlock is at the top of the list at current, and you see fighters jump down to third, and really surprisingly, sorcerers are being created and played more on D&D Beyond right now than even wizards or rogues. And so, again, really interesting information that we're starting to see as this data is coming in for millions of characters. We're starting to see some great trends. All right, people saw the Beholder on fire. So, take a drink there, and we are going to give away a legendary bundle in... Oh, you have to chat. You have to type something. Type something in the chat, and we're going to give it away in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mobius Mage. The wizard behind the curtain tells me that Mobius Mage is the winner. Congratulations, you have won a legendary bundle. We will get with you after the show to award that. Congrats. Okay, jumping back into the data. So here are the top subclasses by class. Again, this is the same data set. There is going to be some skewing. It's difficult to tell at this point in time if some of the skewing is due to some of these options just being free options versus paid options. But again, you can start to see some interesting trends going on here. So for Barbarian, not a lot of surprises there for me anyway. I was actually a little surprised on the Bard. The College of Lore is clearly the best subclass. Let's be real about this, folks. But outside of that, College of Swords is really surprising to me. So that's coming in. I'm mainly talking right now where all of you can consume the content on this very busy screen. But yeah, take a look at this information. You can see with the Warlock, and you'll see this on the next screen as well, the Hexblade is a pretty popular subclass. Let's just go on and get that out there. The Hexblade is very popular, and that has had a great deal to do with the rise of Warlocks in the data rankings that we currently have. You can see on Wizard, I'm actually a little surprised that the general 8 schools of magic are not more popular than War Magic or Blade Singing, but that is where we're finding ourselves with Wizards as well. So again, interesting information. Fighters are pretty by the book, and what I would expect, but definitely some surprises in other areas. And then finally, when you are playing a class in D&D, obviously unless you're first, second level for some classes, not for all, but for some classes, you are always picking a subclass. If you get to the proper level, you're always picking a subclass. So we thought it would be interesting to look at actual top subclasses overall. And you can see that the Hexblade is definitely strongly in the lead, as being the most created and played on D&D Beyond. Very surprising that the Draconic Bloodline for the Sorcerer is in second place here. Life Domain for Cleric. Parties have to have healers. Life Domain is a strong domain. That one makes a lot of sense to me. But you can start to see that Champion and Battle Master are pretty high up there. But look at the Warlock. So we have the Hexblade, the Fiend, and the Great Old One right there on the right side of the chart here, indicating that they're kind of in the top half of what's going on. College of Lore for the Bards, I said it was the best. Obviously, it's the best. So it's ranked pretty highly as well. And then we go around the dial, and you can see, again, for Wizards, for instance, in this, unless I'm mistaken, I don't see Wizards even in this, what is that, top 20 or so that's being displayed. So really, really interesting trends that we're starting to see with character creation and characters being played on D&D Beyond. I think this is really useful information, great data. I think that it really can indicate that, hey, from a design perspective, the Hexblade has had an incredibly positive response. Possibly too strong of a response. I don't know necessarily, but it is a popular option for players to utilize, and so that's what the data is telling us. All right. If you have any questions about that data, by all means, put it in the chat, and I will do my best to get to it at the end of the show. All right. So let's talk about where we're going. So the short-term roadmap. This is the part that I know that many of you tune in for, so we're going to talk about it. So Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. If you haven't heard, that's coming out next month. We're incredibly excited about that. We are currently working on digitizing the new lore components that are just really outstanding. I've read through every bit of it. It's really good stuff. Some of this stuff has never been talked about before in the history of D&D, and so really, really enlightening things that can be incredibly useful for Dungeon Masters. So really excited about what's happening there. We're going to have new races that are available. So some of the new races, I'm going to be a little careful here. I don't know what has officially been revealed or not. But those races, lots of options, some exciting options that people have been asking for a long time. And then finally, new monsters. It is definitely in the vein of Volo's Guide to Monsters. Lots of new monsters. A lot of those have been previewed lately. Really exciting stuff. Lots of high-level encounters and enemies, which really is a great addition to the game at this point, because as people have been playing 5th edition for years at this point, we're starting to see some of these campaigns are actually reaching higher levels. These threats are going to be perfect for those games. So really exciting product. Looking forward to getting that out to folks. The character sheet revamp. I know that every single time we have one of these development updates, everyone is hoping that I'm going to just surprise drop this on everyone. We're not quite ready yet, but man, we're getting really far down the road. I am loving what I'm seeing. I cannot wait to share this with the community. But before we do that, we are definitely going to make sure that everything has the amount of polish that we would expect to be in place for something that has been this big of an undertaking. So we're doing, we're finishing up some things and we're polishing some others, but really excited to get this in everyone's hands. This is definitely a short-term kind of thing. You can interpret that how you want to, because I'm not going to give a lot more detail than that. But we are definitely in the soon TM territory here, as opposed to, hey, this is a dream that's not going to come for a while. Really looking forward to that. Another thing that we're going to move into now that homebrew subclasses have been released is source management. So that's one of the next bigger things that we're going to tackle. We're going to start seeing whitelisting at the account, campaign, and character level. So if you want to use certain sources but not others, you will be able to do that within the source management system that we're going to build. And within that, it is also kind of a first step towards full Adventures League validation that we are definitely going to put in place as well. So that's another thing that we're going to be working on soon. The mobile app beta, we have character content and listings. So all of those aggregate pages that have character classes on them with all the options that are displayed there. Those are coming to the mobile app in the next phase of beta, as well as our spells, magic items, monsters, backgrounds, feats, listings. All of those things will be present there, so you will be able to very quickly and easily search for that content, filter using the advanced filters that we have on the website. All of that's coming to the mobile app, and that's the next phase of beta. We're looking forward to getting that in people's hands where they can start testing it. All right, it's almost time for Q&A, but I thought that we might want to take another look at what's going on with the character sheets. So can we make it big? Oh, did they find a beholder? Good grief, let's do that first. Man, like you guys found that in like 10 seconds. I tried to do this transition like really quick where you couldn't find it, and you found it anyway. All right, we are going to give away a legendary bundle. Okay, so you have to type something. If you're just joining us, you have to type something in the chat. Engage, say hello to someone, tell them, compliment them on their screen name, whatever you want to do. And we're going to give that away in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, it sounds like it is 10-10-506. Oh, 10, like the Tin Man. So 10-10-506. Congratulations, you have won a legendary bundle. We will get with you after the show to connect and get that to you and awarded. Congratulations. All right, now back to character sheet. Make it big. There we go. All right, so we've got good old Moroth that I've shown you guys a few times. Pay no attention to the glowing Slack at the bottom. That is just Mr. Todd Kenrick passing questions to me. All right, so with Moroth, we've got a lot more going on here. Again, I've shown you guys just the excitement behind being able to customize so many of the things that we have in place now. We can do animated fish bowls where the little fish is going to swim. We'll go back to default for now, but you can change theme colors, so we can go all around the world. I really love some of the options. We'll have these for every class. We'll have so many theme colors that you'll always be able to find exactly what's going to best match and accessorize your character. So really exciting things there. Any of the things that you're clicking on the sheet, you're going to actually start seeing explanations. So you can modify your scores on the fly now. You can see what's going on with strength itself, with actually any of the ability scores here. Speed, you can adjust anything with your speed. Proficiency bonus, we even have explanations of what's going on. Inspiration, if you forget exactly how that works, you can click there. You can track your inspiration here as well. Hit points is still coming together, but we're going to have some changes and some easy ways to update this, kind of on the fly ad hoc here as well. Skills and all of this is starting to come in. You can see with proficiencies in languages, we're starting to allow custom proficiencies to be included here, so you can do all of that. In the combat section, again, all of these things are clickable. You're able to dig down deep anywhere that you want to. The Staff of Fire here, anything that has images, we're actually going to show the image for you here. Really exciting from that perspective. Defenses, again, you can customize all that. Your armor class, you can customize. Conditions are just toggles now. So, I don't know why I would be invisible and incapacitated at the same time, but you can do that. Here as well in the actions section, we're going to continue to show snippets of everything that you can do. What are your reaction options, and then anything that's classified as special you can put and see there as well. We've looked at the spells. We'll look at equipment a little bit more now. So in equipment, you can attune to items here now, quickly and easily. So you see a list of what you can attune to, and you can actually do that at this point. In the inventory section, you're able to click through and see information about any of the items that you actually have here. Weight carried is going to take you here. Currency is going to take you here, talking about your lifestyle selection. So all of this is also in place. You can see with our armor of force resistance, the scale mail here, that we also have stealth disadvantage showing up in the notes section now. So lots and lots of useful information is being pulled into here. You can also manage equipment here, and you're able to add the items. Now, this is on a development environment. In production, it would never spin that long. But basically, you can add your items here. You can look at your inventory here and remove equipment or add the equipment above. We also have the ability to create ad hoc custom items. So I've created this item, and then now I can add whatever I want to about this item. If I want to say that this item cost 30 gold pieces and it weighed 10 pounds, and right now it's just an unidentified item, but I want it to become a, let's think about something, jar of mayo. I just tried to think of whatever my greatest nightmare was. Any notes or description about that, you can actually add that there. Let's say that I have 3 of those also. And now you can go over and find that jar of mayo in my inventory. It's going to hit your weight requirements, all of this. Again, really, really good changes that we're putting in place for the equipment section. Very excited what's happening there. Feats, another thing that has been asked for quite some time, is the ability to assign ad hoc feats. So you're also going to be able to do that. And as you can see, you can do whatever you want. You're going to see on Defensive Duelist, I'm not exactly sure why the wizard chose Defensive Duelist test data. Gotta love it. But for Defensive Duelist, we've got, it's from your wizard selection, so you change and modify those things within the builder. But if you want every character to have a feat at first level, for instance, you can go in and add the durable feat. And of course, the durable feat broke because we've got some stuff messed up with it. But ultimately, you can add any of these feats ad hoc, and you can always see which ones are custom and which ones aren't, due to the designation it's giving there. So again, I mainly wanted to show you all that this is a real thing. It's not vaporware. It is something that is, coming pretty soon. Again, very excited about it. Another thing, I'll show you one other thing. So we will also have the option to share your character. So when you're sharing a character URL on Facebook or Twitter or whatever right now, you are actually not able to do this really. Somebody is going to hit that page. They're not able to view your character. We're introducing the concept of read-only characters. So when you're in a read-only character and you're looking at the charisma entry, for instance, someone on your sheet with read-only is not going to see the ability to change any kind of other modifier or an override on your score. They're only going to see this other information for your read-only variety. We're also going to have some permissions in place where you won't see the notes section on a read-only character if you don't want someone to see that. So if you have hidden secrets in your backstory, they won't be able to see that, but they'll be able to see your stats and everything else if you share that character. And so when you share that character, we're going to also have a nice little image card that's going to show up with your character. So as soon as you paste that into Twitter or Facebook, it's going to show a little tiny representation of your character. Really excited about this. Again, being able to share, being able to customize, so all of your theme colors are going to come through these images. Really exciting things that are being worked on. I know that there are plenty of questions in chat right now without me even looking about when can I have it. Can't quite answer that yet, but we are getting close and looking forward to digging in even more. All right, I'm going to hit some questions. I'm first going to take a drink, but then we're going to get right into some questions. All right, questions from the forum. So as always, we try to prioritize some of the questions from the forums just as a nice benefit for the community that's very active there. This is a great way to get something answered. I do my best to answer all of them. If you submitted in the last, few hours, several hours, I might not have gotten it, but definitely encourage you guys to do this. So as always, got questions about what is the estimated time of arrival for X feature, Y feature, we're not going to be able to share that. We work in an agile environment that we do not have actual waterfall end dates anywhere. And so at this point in time, we don't share any kind of dates. We can give you kind of approximation. So I'm telling you on the character sheet, I approximately think that's going to happen in Q2, and that's about the most clarity that you're going to get from us at this point, unless we are really darn sure it's coming out very soon, and then I can maybe share a date. Twitch stream integration and VTT integration. So got a couple of questions about this. Twitch stream integration is not on the short-term roadmap right now, but I imagine... again, I'm not sharing dates, but I imagine by the next time we talk in one of these dev updates, it would be on that short-term list. So it's very, very close to getting off the ground. VTT integration, we're still looking for some ways to do this. Haven't been able to work that out or prioritize it yet, but it is on the list. Homebrew subclasses, feature options. So I think this question, and I might not have left myself enough of a note, so that was bad on me. But feature options, I think this was talking about being able to, yes, I know what it is now. I got it. I think this was talking about being able to take Eldritch Invocations or Battlemaster maneuvers or any totem barbarian, totems and that kind of thing, and be able to share those one by one. So at current, that is not possible. It's something that we might look into if there's enough demand in the future potentially. But right now, if you wanted to share something like that, or especially if you wanted to play with something like that in your home campaign, you definitely can take the Totem Warrior subclass, create a homebrew version of that, private version of that, and add the Totem of the Duck or whatever it is that you're wanting to add. You can definitely use that route. But sharing them individually is not something that we currently have planned, but we're keeping an eye on the demand there. Homebrew subclasses, scalable resources. So this is something that obviously works for us because we're doing this with things like key or sorcery points. We have not exposed this to the community quite yet because it's a little bit confusing and complicated. And so, for this initial pass, we didn't want to overly confuse users because, again, this is a very, difficult system. It is something that we do plan to add over time, though, for sure. So in the meantime, if you are a power user and you're comfortable with doing this, you can certainly add a class feature at different points in the progression of the subclass that would change the amount of whatever that you're getting, and that will work in the short term. Replacement or alternate class features. This is another question we've received. And we've talked about this before in the context of Jeremy Crawford has shared that at least their current plans, again, until it's finalized, we don't know, but a current track that they're exploring with possibly even the revised Ranger is instead of having two separate classes, again, to avoid confusion, they would potentially explore the possibility of replacing certain class features with others and having alternate class features. If and when that happens, we will absolutely fully support that, and we would also support that within the homebrew system. So it's something that if they pull the trigger, we will pull the trigger on that. Additional critical role content. So currently you can use a Blood Hunter. I know a lot of people have been excited about that. A lot of people are using that class. It's going to be really, really soon that you start to see some more critical role content. So stay tuned. It's going to be pretty soon. You'll start to see it. I think that some smart people have started seeing that Matt is really polishing up some of this content and putting new versions of it out there. And there may be something that has prompted his flurry of activity on those things. So we'll have more to share on that soon. Replace damage, dice, or type. So got a question last month. I misunderstood the question. And so I apologize for that. So I think I've got a really good handle on what's going on with this one now. But the ability to replace damage dice on a weapon type, That is something that we do not currently have in place, but I have a feeling we will add it because we're starting to see more and more circumstances that would benefit from that. And then the other part of the question is replacing a damage type. And I think the question even said that all you could do was replace it with Radiant. And that was actually just a bug that we addressed and fixed. So you actually should be able to replace damage types with any type of damage at this point in time. So that was actually fixed yesterday. But this is in the case of something like a Sunblade that is doing radiant damage instead of slashing damage for the normal weapon of its type. All right. Staff usage. How are we doing on time? Oh, wow. I think this is the most time we've ever had at this point. I'm going to get a drink of water. All right, that's feeling good. All right, staff usage of DDB. So this question I think was in regards to what is the staff using of DDB? What do we enjoy the most? What are we excited about? I think it was also kind of an underhanded attempt for me to get me to reveal something the staff's using that you guys don't have yet. But I mean, I'm a little smarter than that, so we're going to stop here. But I think everybody's just incredibly excited about this character sheet and everything that's going into these revisions. As you can imagine, it's been a great deal of work and effort. We've been, messing with it and playing with it. I play with it at home with my kids even. So really, really excited about what's happening there and how that has turned into something that is just immediately recognizable as a character sheet and all the classic feel of a character sheet, but then also it has all that convenience at your fingertips. Really excited about what's happening there. And then I am also, as far as planned features, I am the most excited about our monster builder that we're going to hopefully get to work on a little later this year because just knowing what that thing's going to actually do when we get finished with it, it's going to change the way that Dungeon Masters prep for the game. It's going to be incredible. Really looking forward to it. Filter races by ability improvement. So I think this question was not necessarily on the races listing, which is actually a place where we have talked about adding that type of filter. So we might see it on the races listing at some point. It's also something that I think in the context of the question was talking about seeing this in the builder. So I think that, that is a possibility that we could also explore. I can definitely see the use case. And so we've kind of added it to the list of things that we will start to look at. Question about the dev update stream being, at the time it is at, and what about, I think some of the quotes were, best, most beautiful, whatever users in Australia. So I'm sorry if I messed up your quote there a little bit, but I'm really sorry about the timing. It's going to be really, really hard for us to hold one of these when it's prime time for Australia. I mean, I need my sleep. So really encourage you to check out the VOD. Sorry that you can't be here live. If you have questions, though, definitely, just like you did here, add them to the forum thing, and then by the time you check the VOD, hopefully I've answered it. Developer API for DDB. This is something that is absolutely planned, as I have said a few times. It is not prioritized. You're seeing it's not hitting the short-term roadmap. It is definitely a long-term roadmap. It's something that we want to do, but we have to do it very carefully and we have to do it right. And we would never try to do it without those conditions being met. So it is something that is there. It is not on a back burner necessarily, but it is definitely far down the list. I imagine one of these days you are going to see one, but no idea when that's going to be. Adding coin weight to Encumbrance. That is actually going to come with the revamped sheet. I think that was even added in a couple of weeks ago. I saw that start to work. You will have a preference as to whether you want coins to count or not, because I think many groups don't play with coin encumbrance, because when you turn it on, you're going to be really surprised that you can't carry all that cheddar on your person at all times, or you just can't even walk. So, but it will be a preference that you can toggle back and forth. Adding trinkets to your inventory. So this is something we've definitely discussed. It's something that I'm sure will find its way in, at some point. For now, this would be a really, really great use of the ad hoc item adding system that I displayed for you a little bit earlier. That's a really good use case for that because you can even describe the trinket a little bit. Oh, water time. Hold on. All right, and we're back. I haven't died yet. Okay, convention schedule. Really excited about what's going on with conventions this year. We are planning to be at Origins, so if you're going to Origins, can't wait to see you there. I've got people to meet. Really looking forward to it. So Origins is a place we're going to be. We'll have some more details on some exciting things that are happening there. Hopefully, really soon. We just haven't, crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's yet, but more to share on Origins. I, at a minimum, will be at Gen Con, and we might be there in a larger capacity, so we're exploring that as well. I'm going to Gamehole Con. Hope to see anybody up there. Really excited about that one. I think that we have plans for PAX Unplugged a little later in the year. We'll have to see exactly what those end up being, but there are some plans. And then finally, we definitely have plans for TwitchCon. We're going to be keeping it in the family there. So if you can make it to TwitchCon, you'll definitely see us there. If you happen to see me or any of us at those events, please come say hello. I don't bite very hard, so looking forward to meeting folks. Excited about what's happening with conventions. All right, very vague but important question of how's business. DDB is performing, ahead of our expectations, and we are incredibly happy with how we are doing. As you've probably been able to read between the lines, we are hiring, more and more staff. We actually have a new employee. She starts on Monday. So really excited to welcome a new employee on Monday, a developer. We're going to continue to try to build the team and continue to try to invest in what's going on with DDB. So business is going well. Wild Shape Companions and Familiars. This one comes up all the time. This is something that we are targeting for revamp or revamp adjacent. All right. And what I mean by that is we're definitely laying the groundwork for this all to work. We're going to have to ultimately make a decision about whether we release all the goodness that's happening with the character sheet, ahead of this, or if we can wait another week or two while this gets integrated and then release it all at one time. So we're kind of torn between exactly what's going to happen now. Either way, whether it happens in the very first pass of the revamped sheet or not, it is coming right on the heels, along with a few other, pretty major changes to like resource management. So all of those are planned, and they are all kind of working together. It really just depends on what the release schedule of the stuff is. So yes, it is coming. A customizable DM screen, and this has also kind of been a question about, from a DM perspective, being able to see the characters in your campaign at one time and be able to see their hit points and auto updates. This is something that is definitely planned. This is something that I've had in mind, and I even did rough mocks of this, probably a year ago at this point in time. So I can definitely tell you that one's going to happen. Not exactly sure when, but it's certainly on the list. Something that we're going to be able to do some really interesting, cool things with when we get to it. Random tables section or a screen for this. So this was a really interesting question, to be honest. A forum user asked the question of whether we could take all the tables from all the content that we have and somehow aggregate those into a single section where you can just search through and filter through the tables and be able to roll on those tables. This is legitimately one of the few things that I've actually seen requested that, I haven't thought of, or the team hasn't thought of in some capacity before. And I can definitely say that I don't hate the idea. So that might also mean that I kind of like it. So we'll see what can happen with that. I think there's some interesting, possibilities with that. So thanks for that feedback and the question and the suggestion. We'll see what we can do. Ad hoc feats, items, skills, etc. I think you guys saw earlier that you're going to be able to do that in the revamped sheet, which is great. You'll be able to customize to a very high level, and you'll be able to really cover any of the kind of character cases that you need to in the sheet revamp. So got a really funny question about the sheet revamp and Critical Role. So the question was something like, you can't wait to see the cast sit down on a Thursday and start to play their character. And then, there's this kind of like, what is going on moment and the look of terror in their eyes. I can assure you we're working very closely with the Critical Role cast and team, and they are fully aware of the changes that are coming up. They will also get some really great primer documents to tell them what the changes are and where they can find their stuff. So we're going to be helping them any way that we possibly can, and they'll get that documentation on a Friday where they've got a full week to study up on it before they have to actually use it on a Thursday. So I think they're going to be fine, but thank you for checking. Printing spell item monster cards. Again, this is something that's on the list, something we haven't been able to prioritize. Hopefully we can get to it a little further down the road. Equipment management and the sheet revamp. I showed you a lot of that there. We are not going to introduce containers or any of those kind of elements in the first pass here. Again, that's something that we're looking at. We're even looking at that from the perspective of we would really like to do a major pass just on equipment at some point this year. So we're looking into that, but we've made a lot of subtle improvements, the ability to ad hoc, add items to your character. All of those things are going to come out in the sheet revamp. An Amazon Kindle app. This makes a lot of sense for us, and I am very confident that that is going to happen at some point in the near future. This is an important one. What was the most recent ice cream flavor that you ate, and was it your, what was the rest of the question? Was it your first choice? Great question. So it was chocolate truffle, and that has actually been at least 4 weeks ago because I am like on a keto reset and really killing it right now. I'm almost about 3 weeks in. So no ice cream for me for quite some time, but the last time it was chocolate truffle, and yeah, I would pretty much say that would be about my first choice. All right. Okay. Code word, cough time. All right, we're good. Okay. So now we will go to questions from chat. I'm going to have to rapid fire these like always, but I'm going to do my best. All right, let's see. Wow, that's a lot of questions, folks. Adventurers League or others DM Guild content. Yes, we do plan to do that. So any plans to add AL or other DMs Guild content? The answer is yes. Can't share any other details yet, but yes. The Despair Bear, love that. Will there be an option later on when you pay a monthly sub to use all the content? So this is an all-access subscription. We've answered this before and said that there are no current plans to do this. It's something that we've explored, but there are no current plans to be able to do that. Merlin Paladin question, what are the short, long-term plans for the campaign to help with management, like encounter trackers, etc.? Encounter building and monster building, and then eventually full combat tracking is the natural progression of our roadmap. We're going to be trying to tackle that as quickly as we possibly can. Some elements of that will definitely be coming this year. Snail Jam, maybe? Question, any plans to integrate AL League tracking, so like log sheets and all of that? The answer to that is yes as well. We definitely have plans to do it. Can't share when yet, but we definitely have plans to do it. Errorfrius question, how granular will the whitelisting capability get? Is it going to be only at the source level? No, the plan is we do want to do it at the individual element level. At a minimum, the depth we want to go is to be able to say you can't use magic items from this source. Hopefully, we're going to be able to put the time in to make it down to the level of this magic item is not allowed. And actually, I keep talking about whitelisting. It's going to be blacklisting. The assumption is that you are going to be able to use anything unless specifically told it can't be used. So that's actually the direction that we're going there. All right, character sheet. This is from Simps1. Character sheet. Will we be able to customize the placement of the list? I'm not sure. Are you talking about the big kind of text-based sections there? If that's what you're talking about, it's definitely something we've talked about doing. It's something we could eventually do. It's not going to be in the first pass. Miari15, how does the character sheet look on mobile? This is a great question. And actually, this is one of those areas, again, after we've done a lot of research on this, we see that actually most users are using the character sheet on a desktop or a laptop setting, which was really surprising to us. But given that fact, we actually have done something a little different than we typically do. We typically develop mobile first. For this revamp, we actually developed desktop or laptop first, and then we are fully aware of the design and how that's going to translate to mobile. Really excited about that actually, but we're not far enough along that we can start sharing a lot of that yet. So that's kind of the last piece that's being worked on. But yeah, we'll be able to share some of that really soon, and I think it's going to be something that the community really responds positively to. Dragonborn Doug, nice name. Any update on Grung for DDB? No update yet, but earlier point about DM's Guild content, I imagine we will see it at some point. Tattooed Tech, spell point support, not on any kind of short-term slate, primarily because that's a whole system that has to be built out, and the amount of demand for spell points is really small from everything we've seen. If you know of a giant group of people out there that want spell points, by all means, have them share that feedback where their voice can be heard, because at the moment, it's an optional rule that's pretty far down the list, something we want to support, but we can't prioritize it with some of the other stuff that goes ahead of it. The Teonos, maybe? Can we please have the cost of an item in the equipment list on the character sheet? I think you saw earlier that we do have that in the equipment section in the revamp. Any update for XML export for VTT like Fantasy Grounds? I answered that one a little earlier too. We have plans, but haven't been able to work it out yet. War Chief Torgrim. Oh, that sounds like a WoW character. I like it. Question, for items like Instruments of the Bards, is there development in the works to create a way to set spell charges to be assigned to individual spell? That is planned. No idea exactly when we'll get that in, but it's definitely planned. Talatnix. Question, man, you guys got some wild names today. Sorry about that. When will casting Mage Armor update the character sheet's AC? Those kind of temporary effects are something that would happen in a later pass when we actually expose temporary effects like Wild Shape and all of that. So that is something that's coming, but it's not going to be in the revamp sheet. Phantom CV, when will we get basic character sheets on the mobile app? That's a great question. I have no answer for you yet. It's after this next phase of beta. When that releases, the very next thing that we'll be working on is the character sheet. CRONG, Job. Question, are you going to fix the login method so we don't have to log out of Twitch to log out of DDB? I actually think this is not a DDB related kind of framework thing. Like it's something in some of our core framework that we are working on, and I've kind of gotten some updates about this recently, so hopefully we're going to start to see fixes for that coming out relatively soon. Hiakus, are you looking forward to the whole... Okay, yeah, I answered that one. Mr. Lou A, question, what about content beyond Critical Role? I'm assuming that's other third-party content. We're definitely trying to see what we can do there. Nothing that we can announce or share at this point in time. Mobius Mage, where can I get one of those mugs? This was like a special D&D thing. Like I can't even remember where I got it, to be honest. I think that a lot of people have been asking for this, though, and Greg Tito really needs to somehow make that happen for people. So obviously blame Tito. Nutella Ice Cream, question, expanding on previous version of same question. Plans to include racial spell DCs in the revamp character sheet? Yes. Art of Bartlett, question, will the new character sheet give the option of a clickable player portrait where you can add your own art so it can be seen easier? That actually is already possible. You can upload your own art, so I might be misunderstanding the question, but yes, you can do that through the character sheet in the revamp as well. Sadil Castillo maybe. Monster Builder, Encounter Builder. Both are coming. I don't understand the question. Sorry about that. Null Speak. Any progress on linked dice roller functionality for online campaigns? Nothing yet, but we're definitely getting there. I'm watching the clock. Gecko Bits question: storing items in a bag of holding with not with a new character sheet, but it is in a pass that we're doing at some point after that. MJS October, will we be able to choose which character sheet we want to use? No, everyone's going to the revamp. And one more question: is adding attunement slots going to be an option on the character sheets? That's a very good question. At current, because no other official content supports this, because the Artificer has not been put back out in an official capacity yet, we do not currently have that. But if Artificer does that, then yes, people will be able to add attunement slots. All right, that's all we have time for. I'm sorry I didn't get through everything. I tried as best I could there. Appreciate everyone joining us. Thanks so much for the participation, and we will see you next month. Thanks.